stunning moment earlier today. America's darkest day, 9/11. Tonight, how the Saudi crown prince responded to criticisms from the families of 9/11 victims to his appearance at the White House. Ambassador John Bolton with us in moments. Plus, basically unanimous, all except for one vote. The Epstein Files bill flying through Congress. How that potentially could hit the president's desk in just the coming hours.
This has never been political. This is not about questions of Trump or Biden. This is a question of doing the right thing for survivors.
But the real test will be, will the Department of Justice release the files? Or will it all remain tied up in investigations?
Also tonight, North Carolina ice raids, Charlotte and Raleigh ongoing. Is New York City up next? What the administration is telling us. And they don't even have a college degree. They're in their 20s and built drones in their parents' garage. Why the U.S. Army is now giving them tens of millions of dollars. Our two friends gonna solve our drone dilemma. They join us tonight. But first tonight, the Saudi sit-down. President Trump face-to-face with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. A meeting with a whole lot of questions going into this, and perhaps just as many coming out, including September 11, 2001. As you might know, 15 of the 19 hijackers came from the kingdom. A federal judge this summer ruling that victims' families can sue the Saudi government, alleging that the kingdom played a support role in one of America's darkest days. But when asked today what he would say to the families who still grieve and are furious of his visit, the Saudi Crown Prince mainly said this.
I feel painful about, the families of 9/11 in America, but, we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden, he used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation.
And in that same answer, MBS, as he's known, did not take any responsibility for the 2018 murder of Jamal Khashoggi, who wrote for the Washington Post. The CIA, in President Trump's first term, concluded that MBS ordered the killing inside Saudi Arabia's own embassy in Turkey. President Trump today, however, essentially jumped in to defend MBS. Watch.
You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Just some of the scenes inside the White House earlier today, and a dinner between those two set to take place later this hour. Our Kelly Meyer live on the North Lawn, who was watching all of this unfold just behind her this afternoon. Kelly?
Hey there, Blake. A warm welcome for the Crown Prince here at the White House. From horses guiding Mohammed bin Salman to the residence to a military flyover, the president quite literally rolling out the red carpet for someone he calls a great ally. And the meeting going much longer than expected here. Bin Salman leaving more than an hour after it was expected to this afternoon as they met behind closed doors. A much different scene, though, in front of the cameras when the media packed into the Oval Office earlier today. Much of it positive, with President Trump grabbing bin Salman's hand, saying he shakes his hand, a slight to former President Biden, who famously gave MBS a fist bump back in 2022. And it did get heated, though, in there when a reporter asked about the Trump family business ties to Saudi Arabia. MBS oversees a major construction project that is in talks with the Trump family business, and Trump says he has nothing to do with it. He also says MBS had nothing to do with the murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. Trump ripped into the reporter who asked about it, telling her, quote, "You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that." And it's not over yet, Blake. The White House staff right now getting ready for what is being dubbed an elaborate dinner. Names on the guest list range from soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo to even Elon Musk. That kicks off here soon, Blake.
Our Kelly Meyer live tonight on the North Lawn. Kelly, thank you. Ambassador John Bolton in a moment here. But first, to a bit of breaking news at this hour from the United States Senate and from the president himself. President Trump saying he has nothing to hide when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and their relationship. The truth could be coming out sooner rather than later, as legislation mandating the release of the Epstein Files could be headed to the president's desk in the upcoming hours, perhaps tonight, as the Senate has agreed by what's known as unanimous consent to pass the bill once it's in their hands. This coming just 2 hours after the House voted this afternoon 427 to 1 to release the files. It followed a complete 180 by the president, who gave up on trying to stop it. And now he is saying he will sign the bill. Our Joe Khalil live tonight up on Capitol Hill. Joe, basically the Senate sort of gets this thing and says, okay, we're good with it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, Blake, there was a procedural motion effectively in the Senate, the result of which is as soon as the House bill arrives, it will be already considered passed in the Senate and on its way to the president's desk. So for all intents and purposes, the bill is passing the Senate now. And we were in this room with several of the Epstein survivors and members of Congress. There was a vigil happening when that news broke, and you could hear the cheers erupt from the group, some of them still kind of lingering behind us. Obviously, that overwhelming vote earlier today in the House, many of those survivors were inside the House chamber as it happened. Just a total reversal from the expectations from just a week ago. Blake, when we were not sure if this was going to pass at all, President Trump was trying to sort of cut it down, and we didn't think the Senate would even take it up. And here we are now, just total different circumstance here. But it was an emotional day and a heavy day for a lot of the folks and families behind us. Take a listen to just a bit of what we heard this morning as many of these survivors and family were sharing their own stories here.
Epstein and Maxwell didn't just abuse her, they trafficked her to a network of the rich and powerful. Princes, prime ministers, politicians, financiers, and lawyers. These men committed unspeakable acts against her will, and against the will of countless survivors who stand united with us today.
So, Blake, from what I'm hearing from survivors, they're happy, they are relieved, but more so than anything, still apprehensive because they want to see people be held accountable, and so far, that part has not happened yet. They say they won't let up until that does.
Joe Kay, live tonight in the Capitol hallways. Joe, thank you. With us now, the Texas Republican Congressman Pete Sessions, member of the House Oversight Committee, which, of course, is digging into the Epstein case as well. Congressman, thanks for being with us. You know, this one is obviously been talked about, but one of the new aspects of this is just the last 48 hours or so, 72 hours, the president and his reversal and saying, go ahead, vote for it. Everyone but one member on your side of the aisle voting for this. How did the president misread the room here?
Well, I'm not sure exactly whether it was a misread or just simply someone who made what I think was a poor decision. The House Rules Committee tabled this, in essence, 9 times. This is not something that sneaked up on anyone. And the committee was doing its work, I think, on a bipartisan basis. But what will happen now is it will follow exactly the instructions that were given by the bill that came out that was not exact and specific. There will be lots of names. It will just be information. It does not mean it was factually based. There will be pictures of girls. There will be videos of people. It was all part of
really think they're going to release that?
Political witch hunt.
They're not going to release that.
Hold on. We have been told to release entirely the matter instead of what we were doing, which is what we were trying to sustain, a law enforcement analysis, data, information, who was involved, who had the videos, how did this happen, who was paying the money. None of this was protected by the bill that was passed today, and this is where the information is just, and no one cares. No one cares. I've talked to 100 people who've said they could care less. They are looking for Donald Trump's name. So fine, if that's what you want, that's what we're going to give.
If you feel this way, why'd you vote for it?
Well, because we've been put in this box by thousands of people. See, last year before the election, it was Republican women who I support this, a process where we would know questions and answers. I still think we're going to fail to ask the question, who paid money to whom? What banks were involved? How did all this thing happen? Who had custody of the tapes? And we heard the Attorney General earlier in the year say that she thought she had them and then found out, well, maybe the New York office of the Bureau had them. I don't know that there's any accounting except for anything except what'll happen is this will be shoved out the door and be made available on the internet. And who knows that it will be official? Who knows what substance is there? It has no real definition like what we have been doing for the past few months, interviewing witnesses, interviewing decision makers, interviewing people, trying to determine the custody of this information, and that's gone.
I hear you, Congressman. Let me leave you with this. You know, the president often likes to be out in front of the cameras and sign and, you know, do signings in front of the cameras and speak to the press and all that. And now this is going to get to his desk, right? And he's already said that, that he's going to sign this. Should he sign this publicly? Should he hold an event in the Oval Office and as we always see, he gets the binder with the papers and go on and sign it?
No. This is what this is what happens when you get a piece of legislation that did not go through committee. It was not vetted. It was not understood. There was no real understanding about what this stood for, and that's what people wanted. So the people in the media wanted this. We've been hounded to death. So I finally said, sure, I'll vote for it. Why would I not vote for it? I have nothing to hide.
Explaining himself here on the Hill tonight, Pete Sessions, Republican from Texas. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it. Still to come, Ambassador John Bolton, as I mentioned. Ahead on the president's visit with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at the White House today and all those questions surrounding it. Plus, protesters turn criminal in North Carolina as ICE agents become targets. And Ukraine, we've been on this story for a little while, right? They have proven that drones work and that maybe they're the best at it, even better than the U.S. Why the Pentagon is now betting on two 20-somethings with no college degree to change all of that. And you'll hear from them live later in the show. I'm Blake Burman, The Hill, coming right back. Quite the scene in the Oval Office today as President Trump sat down face-to-face with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The Crown Prince responding to a question about criticisms from the families of 9/11 victims about what he would say to them.
I feel painful about, the families of 9/11 in America, but, we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden, he used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation.
15 of the 9/11 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. A federal judge has also ruled that the victims' families can sue the kingdom for its alleged involvement. President Trump also coming to the Crown Prince's defense when he was asked about the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, the writer for the Washington Post. Joining me now, Ambassador John Bolton, former National Security Advisor in the first Trump administration. Ambassador, thanks for being with us tonight here on the Hill. I heard what MBS, as he's known, said there when he was asked about 9/11 and what he would say to the families. And given that being the response, Ambassador, I wonder how you think Americans should view him.
Well, look, this is a subject obviously extremely important to us. There is no evidence the government of Saudi Arabia had anything to do with it. It was Osama bin Laden. There were Saudis involved in the hijacking of all the planes. But in terms of government-to-government relations, I think we've seen 4 presidents now agree that it shouldn't affect the relations between Riyadh and Washington. I think that's the correct judgment.
So what do you think President Trump is doing here with MBS? There's obviously President Biden met with him in the last term. There's going to be this big dinner at the White House in 20 minutes from now. Is this about trying to get a peace deal with Saudi Arabia or some sort of normalizing of ties between Saudi Arabia and Israel, pushback against Iran? What do you view the president's aim is here?
Well, I hope it is to reinforce the common interest that the U.S. has with the Saudis, the other Gulf Arab countries, and Israel against the regime in Iran. That is the principal threat to peace and security in the Middle East. I think it's also important to keep Saudi Arabia aligned with the U.S., not to be tempted by large potential oil purchases from China. I think they're a huge strategic interest for the U.S. In stability and peace in the Middle East, and I think Saudi is obviously central to that.
There was the question in the Oval today about Jamal Khashoggi, of course, who was murdered inside the Saudi embassy in 2018, the embassy in Turkey. The CIA and the first Trump administration believes that MBS ordered that killing. Here was the exchange, and then we'll pick it up on the other side involving the president.
You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Why do you think that was the response from the president?
Well, I don't know why he cares whether Khashoggi was popular or not, but I go back to the day and the days after the killing actually happened. President spoke to the king, MBS's father. I spoke to MBS. Others did as well. They denied their involvement, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but I would say within the administration there was a difference of exactly how effective that CIA analysis was. In any event, in just absolute cold-blooded national interest terms, we've got a lot at stake with Saudi Arabia. Trump defended the kingdom and MBS then, and he did it again today, and I think that's the right thing to do.
All right, let me move you to another region, our southern hemisphere, or south of us, I should say, parts of the southern hemisphere, and that is Venezuela. There's the big buildup in around that area right now. When do you think President Trump has to make a decision?
Well, he should have made a decision before he deployed the Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group from the European theater, and before he did a lot of other things. I think this is, at this point, essentially an incoherent policy. I strongly favor overthrowing the Maduro regime. I did during Trump's first term. I do now.
Do you think that's what the president's trying to?
I think.
You tried then and failed. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's all right. I don't know what he's trying to do now. I can't make head nor tails of it. You know, normally you decide what your objective is, and then in strategic terms decide what assets you need to apply to achieve the objective. Instead, we've got the Ford Carrier Strike Group in the sunny Caribbean. It's not at all clear to me why they're there, or even if they're going to use any of their weapons before they sally back to Europe.
You'd said a few years ago, Ambassador, that you had been involved in planned attempted coups. Is that what you mean? What you meant with that statement? Maduro and Venezuela in the first term?
Well, we didn't view what we did in the first term as a coup, since we recognized Juan Guaido as the legitimate constitutional president of Venezuela, and Maduro as the stealer of the 2018 election, and therefore not actually filling the vacancy. But the point, and the same, by the way, exactly the same thing happened in the election last year that the Biden administration negotiated with Maduro. This is predictable as night follows day that Maduro would steal the election, and he did. And he's not the legitimate president of Venezuela today, in my view.
I got to run, but January 1st, 2026, you think Nicolas Maduro is still there?
I don't know, and I don't think Trump knows, and I don't think anybody in the administration knows what their objective is. This is the wrong way to plan something like this.
We'll leave it there. Ambassador John Bolton, nice to see you as always, sir. Hope you come on back. Appreciate it.
Glad.
Of course, still to come tonight here on the Hill. Tensions in Charlotte, North Carolina, back at home. ICE raids there taking place, not just in Charlotte, but also in Raleigh. DHS, Tricia McLaughlin from the agency with us live, other side of the break, what the administration is trying to do. And the future of drone warfare, is it in the hands of two 20-somethings who don't even have a college degree? We're talking to them on the other side, or later in the show, here on the Hill. All right, just about 6:30 here on the East Coast and in Charlotte, North Carolina, as well as ICE officers have already netted more than 200 illegal immigrants since Operation Charlotte's Web, as it's known, was launched over the weekend in North Carolina. Now they're spreading out to Raleigh, the second biggest city in North Carolina, all while also facing danger as protesters got violent in their attempts to stop some of those officers. Tricia McLaughlin, Department of Homeland Security, joining us here in a moment. But first, to our Allie Bradley, live in the Queen City for us once again. Hello, Allie.
Hey, Blake. So, yeah, we can confirm that they are already operating in Raleigh right now as part of Operation Charlotte's Web across North Carolina. It's a move that the mayor is concerned about because of how Border Patrol and how the community is responding in these operations. Now, you can see Border Patrol agents apprehending an individual in the Raleigh area. That's what you're looking at here on your screen. It's from a cell phone video there, and it's similar to the scenes that we've seen here in Charlotte. Again, that one is in Raleigh. Bystanders capturing these moments that you're looking at outside of homes, stores, and on the street. And then we were the only ones there to witness something that happened this morning. A suspected illegal immigrant runs from agents at a Home Depot here in Charlotte and was ultimately apprehended. You see that foot chase right there. The state's governor, though, has also been critical of the tactics that Border Patrol officials have been using here. Gregory Bovino, the commander here in charge of the operation, Charlotte's Web, responding to Governor Stein, blaming him for increased attacks on Border Patrol and ICE. Bovino has reacted to a threat against law enforcement, writing, quote, "Governor Stein, you caused this. Let me say this again, Governor. When you spout lies about a lawful enforcement operation, you spark something in weaker-minded people like this who may act upon your directions. You need to check yourself." So sources confirm more than 200 illegal immigrants have been apprehended since Operation Charlotte's Web began on Saturday. And these are arrest details of who DHS is saying are the worst of the worst. Among those taken into custody here in Charlotte, 44 criminal illegal immigrants whose criminal records include aggravated assault, assault with a dangerous weapon, assault on a police officer, and hit and run. Arrests also include 2 known gang members. And then we know also this morning, Blake, that several agents woke up to their tires being slashed at their hotels. So that is kind of that escalation in violence as well. And next up for Border Patrol, Louisiana. They'll be heading to New Orleans soon. Blake.
Allie Bradley, live for us in Charlotte tonight. Allie, thank you. With us now, once again, Tricia McLaughlin, spokeswoman at the Department of Homeland Security. You got a higher title than that. What is it?
It's Assistant Secretary.
There we go. All right, Tricia, nice to have you back in. So, Charlotte, about 1 million residents there. Yeah. Raleigh's the second largest city at 500,000 or so. Why North Carolina? What's the thinking about going in there?
Well, there's definitely a bad crime and really gang problem there, particularly MS-13. We've seen that in northern Charlotte, there's actually a 200% increase in homicides in that location, but it's also geographically where those highways are make it a real hub for human trafficking. We know it's number 9 in the country because of that. It's become a hub through that highway system from Florida to New York. Lots of trafficking, whether it be labor, sex, or human trafficking. We're seeing a lot of that there.
So we've seen the operations. We've seen, as Allie Bradley just reported on, but there's other scenes that are coming out as well. For example, in Charlotte, 2 people were hanging up Christmas lights. They got stopped. Asking, where you're from. And then this was another scene. Let's roll it real quick, and then I'll get your reaction on the other side in Charlotte as well.
Usted me lo quiebra, usted me lo paga. Usted quiebra mi ventana. ¿Por qué hizo eso, señor?
That ended up being an American citizen. When people hear those stories and see those videos, how do you square, okay, this is what we're trying to do with, this is what some folks are actually experiencing?
Well, that individual was not complying with lawful orders by law enforcement. It's a U.S. citizen or an illegal alien. If you're not complying with law enforcement, they have reasonable suspicion, and then they will take measures. They were using their training to take measures into their hands to make sure for their own safety and for the public safety. But I will say, I mean, Allie noted it, multiple gang members, perpetrators who are committing assault against law enforcement, aggravated assault. These are people who you should not want in your community. Those in Charlotte don't want in their community. And for that governor to claim that there is racial profiling going on is absolutely absurd. But that kind of rhetoric is leading to the attacks we're seeing on law enforcement. The last 2 days we had vehicles being weaponized and used for ramming of our law enforcement. That is the rhetoric and the conduct we're seeing that's increasing those death threats against our law enforcement officers.
Why Louisville and New Orleans next?
I'm not going to telegraph what is coming next, but those who are violent in this country, criminal illegal aliens, there's no safe haven. We will go wherever we need to go, a blue state or red state, doesn't matter, we will be there.
Tricia McLaughlin, Department of Homeland Security, thanks for being with us tonight here on the Hill. Cutting it off short because I believe Chuck Schumer now, the Senate Minority Leader, live in the halls of the Capitol here on the Hill.
But there's a long way to go. First, Johnson should send the bill over now. Right now, there's no reason it can't be on the president's desk in an hour. Second, the president has to sign it. You never know with him. He said he would. Let's wait and see. But third, we have to make sure that all of the documents are released, that there are no games. We know there's a corrupt Justice Department. We know that Bondi and Kash Patel do just what the president asks and wants. And we Democrats, I just had a meeting of 10 of my colleagues, are going to do everything we can to make sure all of it comes to light, and they don't hide evidence against anyone who might be incriminated by these documents. So good victory today. Fight continues until the American people see all of the documents and are satisfied that all of those documents are released and there's no game playing, no cover-up. We are continuing to fight.
Leader Schumer, what are your, sorry.
Well, he got the first question.
I'll take the second. Leader Schumer, quick question. What exactly can you do to ensure that all the documents come out, given Pam Bondi and given the Department of Justice, are having an active investigation?
We are going to we have many different ways that we are going to do everything we can to see that everything comes out. Pressure works. If not for the pressure from Democrats, this wouldn't have happened. Bondi didn't release documents. Bondi didn't do what she did, change her mind, say yes, say no. Kash Patel didn't do what they did. Johnson didn't do what he did. Thune didn't do what he did. And the president didn't do what he did without pressure from Democrats. That pressure will continue in every way. And we have talked about 5 or 6 different ways that we're going to see that happens.
Thank you. Thank you for that. One of the criticisms that...
All right, that is Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat, of course, in the Senate, as the Epstein Files bill moves its way through Washington. All but one yes votes in the House. The Senate passing this thing essentially by unanimous consent or voice vote. And now the question becomes, when will President Trump sign it? And how will he do it? On the other side of the break. Stay with us. All right, we're back. I'm Blake. Big news tonight in this town. The Senate unanimously green-lighting the bill, the House Epstein bill, that would require the Justice Department to release the Epstein Files. The House voting near unanimously in its favor this afternoon, all but one. The passage follows a month of bipartisan pressures to release the files. President Trump reacting on Truth Social this evening, saying, quote, "I don't care when the Senate passes the House bill, whether tonight or some other time in the near future. I just don't want Republicans to take their eyes off all the victories we've had." That from the president. Full panel here with me now. Emily Brooks, congressional reporter for The Hill. Mick Mulvaney, former chief of staff in the first Trump administration, News Nation contributor. And Naveen Nayak is a Democratic strategist. Hello to you all. Nice to have you all in. You guys don't get caught off guard, so it's nice to be around people like you.
Hello, Burman.
Here's one of the ways I look at this, Emily. I think this is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, that Donald Trump said one thing and Republicans didn't completely fold in line. And it leads me to the question of, is that an indicator of what's to come with Republicans as sort of Trump gets every day closer to, no longer having any more time in his second term and the midterms coming in 2026? Or is this just a one-off?
I think that's definitely something that a lot of Republicans and Democrats I've been talking to on Capitol Hill today have been thinking. This, was a little bit of a unique situation in that the Republican base was really the one who was saying no to President Trump, which rarely happens. And then, of course, members of Congress who are facing re-election next year just saw these off-year elections that showed without Trump on the ballot, it's really hard to get that same kind of electoral coalition, and the base cares about this issue. They were going to go a different way than Trump wanted them to go until he reversed and endorsed the bill over the weekend. So yes, I was talking to some members who are hoping that Similar things happen on tariffs. You're having the redistricting issue in Indiana, some Republicans defying him there. So we'll see. Perhaps it is the beginning of some Trump defiance.
Epstein Files, redistricting efforts, as you just brought up, 50-year mortgages, visas for international students, too much focus on foreign policy. Mick, the filibuster, is this a one-off, or are we starting to see some cracks here?
It's a fascinating question. I don't know how much we learned about the answer tonight because Trump gave his blessing to everybody to vote yes, and that's what happened. If Trump had not done that, then I think we would have learned a lot more. Keep in mind, only, what, 5 or 6 Republicans, maybe fewer than that, actually signed the discharge petition. Right. That's the truly sort of, that's the mutinous sort of thing. Was it 4? Is that what it was? Yeah. So, but if he hadn't given them the approval and they had 100 voted for it tonight, that would tell you a lot more about the answer to your question. I don't think we know yet. There's been a little bit of pushback on the tariffs, a little bit of pushback on what's happening in Venezuela, but still nothing that would make me think that Donald Trump has lost control of the party.
So what do Democrats do now? Well, because all I heard was Epstein, Epstein, Epstein since the government reopened. So what does the party do now?
Well, I don't think it's been, since the government reopened a week ago. They have been delaying having that last vote with Adelita Grijalva being sworn in. So, I think Democrats, and you saw this in the races in Michigan, in New York, and in New Jersey, they've been focused on affordability. I think they learned that lesson in 24, that the reason Biden and Democrats really lost that election was they weren't paying attention to inflation for too long. They weren't paying attention to the cost of living. You've seen them being they made the country pay attention to healthcare costs. For whatever the shutdowns, kind of real world implications, which were dramatic, the fallout of not solving that is about to come home to roost for Republicans right now in a really big way on costs.
Before I move to that, Trump loves being on television, having the media around him.
You've noticed that?
I've noticed that. I've been in the Oval a few times when it happens. And he loves to hold the thing up and say, this is what I'm signing and all that. And now there's a decision after he talked for so long about pushing back on this. Does he open this up to the press and sign it? And put the chief of staff hat on. What are you advising the president? Naveed's shaking his head saying no.
Yeah, what's the next move? What's the next move? If the next move is, now that we've signed this, we can't really disclose anything because there's active investigations in the Southern District of New York. If you're going to do that, you can't do a big, bad bill signing.
The question mark here is why he's been doing this for the last 6 months.
Yeah, I think that's a great question.
We know why he changed his mind on Sunday, because he was going to lose a vote. Right. We don't know by 100 votes, by 50 votes, but it was going to be an embarrassment. What is still totally unclear is this behavior makes no sense other than he's trying to hide something. On Friday afternoon, he pulled a member of Congress into the Situation Room to try to get that vote turned.
Just like that, bang, it happened. So, the president today, Emily, the only health care I will support, getting to what Naveen was talking to or approve, is sending the money directly back to the people with nothing going to the big, fat, rich insurance companies who have made trillions and ripped off America. Part of the post from the president. He's referring there to the Obamacare tax credits. What are you hearing from Republicans as now the president is basically leaning all in on no Obamacare tax credits, don't extend those?
Yeah, that's going to majorly influence how Republicans deal with those tax credits this year before they expire at the end of the year, which was a big factor in the government shutdown fight. Republicans right now are sort of on the same page of what he was saying a little bit. They're talking about having money go directly to health savings accounts, having HSAs, and sending it there rather than to the Obamacare subsidies. They're still crafting the details about all of that, but that was a topic that Republicans were talking about today. However, there are some Republicans who have said that they do want to extend those subsidies at least for a year until they figure out something more comprehensive. So that's going to be a big question.
How does this play out real quickly?
I think it's a disaster for Republicans. They've had 12 years to come up with a health care plan.
So have Democrats have had years to try to fix it, right?
But the Obamacare, for whatever, it's not perfect. But people, no one's claiming it's perfect. It's the system you would want. But people had health care that they could afford. 24 million people.
So why isn't it affordable now? Why haven't costs come down? That's what we were promised when we passed Obamacare.
No, coverage is expanded. How many people have
going to bend the cost
curve? One of the huge successes is the lowest number at the end of Biden's term, lowest number of of Americans without health insurance.
I don't remember that being part of the pitch, though. I remember
of course it was. It was also about expanding access.
Past this, and things will get more expensive.
Just to jump in real quick, live images of the White House as the guests are arriving for that dinner involving the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. You know Trump as well as anyone in this town. Mick, what does he do here on health care?
On health care?
Yep,
I was going to say, because he's not doing anything on health care at this thing. I think they've thrown out an opening bid, which is we're going to do individual subsidies, individual sort of reimbursements, and that's about it. I think that's as far as they got. I will agree with him that we've had 12 years to come up with an idea, actually 15, and we don't have anything yet.
Right.
But I think everybody, again, it cuts both ways. The longer we talk about health care, the more you have to explain why it didn't work and why do we want to do more of what didn't work.
Emily, Mick, Naveen, thank you all. Appreciate it. Live look again, the White House at that dinner there. Coming up, other side of the break, we want to introduce you to the two 20-somethings who went from racing drones in their parents' garage to a massive contract with the Pentagon. You'll meet them other side. All right, so if you've been watching us here on News Nation or listening to us on SiriusXM recently, first off, thank you. You've also probably learned about a new development with our military. Yes, we know we have the best bombers, right? The B-2s in Iran certainly prove that. We know we've got the best aircraft carrier group as well, the USS Gerald R. Ford, now near Venezuela, gaining international attention. But there's also one thing that our military appears to actually be behind on, and that is drones, especially when compared to Ukraine.
They iterate on a speed and scale that we just can't imagine right now in peacetime.
What we're going to produce next year, the Secretary mentioned, is not even half of what Zelensky and Ukraine are going to build.
But will these two men help fix the problem? They're barely in their 20s, have raised, get this, $121 million in venture capital, and were just tapped by the Pentagon for a massive drone building contract. Joining us now, the co-founders of Nero, Soren, Monroe Anderson, and Olaf Hitchwa. Soren, Olaf, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I have so much respect for you guys because I don't think the average person realizes how hard startups are and how hard tech startups are. You guys are doing it. The Pentagon just awarded you with a massive contract. Soren, take me through the moment where the military said, okay, guys, we think you're onto something. Let's talk, and sort of what that was like.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's been a progression over the past 18 months. We have been working really, really hard on our technology and scaling up our production, and a lot of that focus has gone into our work with Ukraine. But over the past 18 months, we've been also working closely with the U.S. Department of War, and we knew that the excitement for this type of small drone technology was really increasing rapidly. And we kind of predicted that the Army and the Marine Corps would be the first ones to try to adopt this widely. And so about a year ago, we identified this contract opportunity with the Army for the purpose-built attritable system program. And that is what we started putting all of our engineering resources towards. So there wasn't one moment where we knew we had gotten it or where it was like a final push, but we did have to get ready for a fly-off. And after that went extremely well. We felt quite confident. And then we ended up hearing that we'd gotten the contract and been selected with the Army.
Olaf, I've been talking to, whether it be a retired four-star general or the ambassador to NATO, and it just strikes me that we're behind on drone technology, right? These other nations are so far ahead, which is crazy to think about because the U.S. military, the biggest, baddest, best on the planet. How are you guys going to fix this?
Yeah, I think anyone who cares about world peace should be highly concerned that our adversaries are producing hundreds of drones for every drone that America produces. I think it's been abundantly clear via Ukraine and other theaters that drone warfare is the future of warfare, and we're taking the problem dead on by building the industrial base that is required to build these drones in mass. We focus on building all the components, including the electronics, the radios, the flight computers, here in the States to enable mass manufacturing of these drones domestically.
Wow, fantastic. I should mention, I was on your website, correct me if I'm wrong, but 39 open jobs as well. So you guys are in your 20s and hiring.
Yeah.
So good on you. Congrats. All the best going forward. It's an issue that I think folks are starting to wake up to. Soren and Olaf at the front lines here, no pun intended, trying to fix it. Good luck, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Of course. All right. If you're just joining us here on The Hill, time to catch up on some of the top stories that are trending right now on thehill.com, including this. Most in both parties say extreme rhetoric contributed to Kirk killing. A new NBC News poll found that 54% of Democrats, 53% of independents, 73% of Republicans believe that rhetoric by some politicians, including members in the media, played a role in fueling Charlie Kirk's death. It's something that could weigh on voters' minds, as you might imagine, for the midterms. And how about this? Check your email. Amazon sending out payments in a $2.5 billion settlement over Prime subscriptions. The tech giant shelling out refunds to customers who were signed up for Amazon Prime without their permission. As part of that settlement, Amazon must now have a clear and easy button for consumers to cancel Prime. If it would only be that easy all the time, right? To check out those stories and more, all you have to do is head on over to thehill.com. All right, coming up here on News Nation, Elizabeth Vargas reports. Just moments away, she'll bring you that lavish Trump White House dinner with the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, live. That's just seconds away here on News Nation. I thank you so much for watching us tonight here on The Hill. I'm Blake Burman. I'll see you tomorrow. I hand it over to Elizabeth right now.